take you away, dying to take you away, take you today. Hold on to your seat. It is time to begin the ride of a lifetime, the greatest journey in the entire universe. Welcome to humanhood. And we take in 3 deep breaths, breathing in the grace and energy of that mantra. The Beatles were right. The magical mystery tour, indeed. Somehow we're hypnotized by our own mind.
But they were wrong about one thing.
What?
They said, nothing's gonna change my world. There's that songs. They're trying to change the world.
It's true, we're trying to change the world. One satsang at a time. Let's take a mystery ride into the heavens and drink the nectar of love, joy, peace. Be free. No more suffering, no more pain. Just delight forevermore. I've reached the inner vision, and through thy spirit in me, I have heard thy wondrous secret. Through thy mystic insight, thou hast caused a spring of knowledge to well up within me, a fountain of power pouring forth living waters. a flood of love and of all embracing wisdom, like the splendor of eternal light. That is you could say a poem from the Dead Sea Scrolls that were written by the Essenes sometime around the time of Jesus. And imagine that most of those writings were lost. They had like all these sort of secret libraries of scrolls that they hid. So they call it like a mystery school. Hardly anyone knew about it, and most people thought it was strange. So we'll sing that mantra together, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam, Bhaja Mudamate, which means praise the Lord, praise the Lord. O ye fool, praise the Lord. If you're not doing that while you're on earth, you're missing the point. I was just talking to my sister, and she had gone to her car to get better reception. She was listening to me, or when we were talking together. She said, yeah, people just don't stop and they don't just look right in front of them. Like I'm looking out my window and I see a beautiful plant blowing in the breeze. She said, that's God. And I said, yeah, it's true. Even the tree or the plant that's blowing in the breeze is praising God through its beautiful expression, giving oxygen to the world, providing shade, providing a home for so many different creatures.
Swami Purna said the sun is giving arti to the Supreme Consciousness.
Indeed. So it's all sort of like a dance of God, like all the creatures are praising the divine, the creator from whence they came. What else would you want to do? Bye. Sometimes the mantra can feel like a burning, like it's burning away all the impurities in your being. Like one catches on fire and just starts to release and let go of everything. Yesterday morning, I think it was, I woke up and the sun was streaming through the window and it cast this shape on the wall and it looked like an angel. And I thought, this is a very fortunate sign. I was so happy. It was a good start to the day. It's kind of like noticing small things like that and being grateful. Seems like there's signs of the divine all around. You know, I would say, how do you recognize the sign? Is if you can feel the magic in something. Feel the holiness in something. And that's a matter of perspective, isn't it? Like if a person's eyes or mind is shaded by depression, then you see the world through depression, and that's the nature of your world. And if your mind and your heart are filled with gratitude, then everything that you see seems to be a sort of symbol of how great the world is and how incredible the manifestation is. And you could go through your entire day sort of in wonder and awe. You could even be in the middle of a business meeting and go, wow, all these people. It's like every person lives in their own world, their own reality. It's like they create their own inner universe.
Well, those are the veils. We all have our personal veil.
And that is astonishing. Like you could just be in the middle of the meeting and go, wow, everyone is in their own universe. How
That's
amazing.
That's why I think perception is reality. For that person, their perception is the reality.
It is. And it's amazing. You could also, let's say, complain about our world and what we've created for ourselves, or we could kind of marvel that we are even able to do that in the first place. And not only that, marvel that the fact that we can actually shift our perception and change our inner world, like you were saying at the beginning. This idea of nothing is going to change my world. I can change my world and see my world however I choose. I can transform it myself. How do I do that? I wake up in the morning and look for the miracle, the angel on the wall. And then I see my mantra, or my sign that's based on this. It says Om Prithvi Namaha. I often mention that mantra, Om Prithvi Namaha. I look at that and I'm grateful for Earth, for holding me, and actually holding my body down on Earth. Like gravity, sort of this power of gravity to keep the body on Earth and prevent it from floating into the atmosphere and into space. Not only that, but the atmosphere itself, right? Earth happens to be the exact right distance from the sun to maintain the perfect atmosphere so that people can actually breathe and live without getting burned up or without freezing. Either way, it could go either way. If we're just a little bit off either way, then you could see what's happened to the other planets too, right? Like they can't even maintain a particular atmosphere that's even conducive for a normal organism on Earth. So thank God that Earth decided to place herself just right. Just right. See, those types of kind of contemplations can really help one to live a life of gratitude. And a life of gratitude is like, it's like you're giving yourself buoyancy. You're uplifting your mood. It's a natural high. I'm so happy for the life that I have. You know, if we go right out that door, there are roses, white roses. I don't know if people can see behind me, maybe like that. I don't know if you can see the white roses behind me. There's also pink roses as well. I got those, or Josh and I got those. There's Krishna, and then there's the white roses. These white roses, I was astonished because, you know, when those kids came over, the kids come over and they rip all the petals off and they're throwing it all around. And it's fun, but I'm worrying about the flowers. Those flowers bloom right back. And they keep going, even in the summer. Like magic, you know, the rose is my favorite flower. And they keep coming back, so we keep bringing them in and putting them on the altar. It's like they want to be given over to the divine. I feel kind of like the roses want to make an offering to the divine in the form of, let's say, Krishna, Swami, Purna, whatever. Yeah.
The white petals of peace.
The white petals of peace. Remember when the girls, they would take, the kids would take these flowers, and I'd be playing the harmonium outside. Josh and I would be singing. Elizabeth has been there, you know, when we were having our little drum circle, they call it drum circle. Josh comes out and plays his drum, and the kids are running around, and they're throwing flowers on us while I'm playing the harmonium outside in the grass. Like, the grass area right out here is so amazing. You could sit there and just watch the hummingbirds fly to the feeder and drink. They're hovering around, and you see all these other birds, and they're chirping. They're making this sort of symphony of sound. And then you've got these, now, at this time of year, these big beetles. I don't know if you've seen them. They sometimes glow green. They're like is that a word? Not effervescent, but they're like these bright green beetles and they're clumsy. They come and they like bump into the screen door. They're kind of like me. I can be kind of clumsy. These beetles are like that. I'll tell you a funny story. I was at this hotel in San Bernardino. It's a fancy hotel. It's many rooms, and it's like a maze, like what do you call it? One of those mazes where you're passing through, and there's another word for it. It's not a maze. Labyrinth, kind of like a labyrinth, sort of like that. And going into the restaurant and sitting down and ordering the vegetarian burger. And I get one of they come out and they deliver it, and I'm eating the burger, and it's really good, you know. They have a really nice restaurant, it's a vegetarian burger. And then suddenly, out of the blue, one of those, I'll call it an effervescent, because I like that word, effervescent green bug comes, and it just flies right down and lands literally on the hand that's holding the burger. And I'm so surprised that I throw the burger because I'm trying to flick them. I mean, imagine a huge beetle. It's shocking, you know. And I wasn't really thinking, oh, it's not going to bite. I was just so surprised. I tried to flick it off, and as I was flicking off, the burger went flying across and landed splat on the ground. And then I think I stained my shirt or something with the sauce on it. And then I think that the waiter noticed that my burger went flying. He says, "Oh, can I do something for you?" And he was chuckling too. He thought it was really funny. He couldn't help but laugh as my burger went flying. And he said, "Oh, I can get you another burger." I said, "Oh, really? Thank you. Really good service, right?" So he comes right back with the burger. But and for the rest of the time, you want to start that? If you started?
I had started it.
Oh, you did? Okay, good. And then for the rest of the time, and then Kristen was there at the time, right? The two of us were just sort of chuckling the whole time at this funny incident. So I was speaking to a person who was having a session with me about how to break out of you could say, the worry and concern about the coronavirus, right? And one of my suggestions was to read or to write a gratitude journal. And, you know, we were talking about, well, what can we be grateful for? And I was describing, like, in a sense, you know, right now, my body is breathing, and and the skin is warm, and I feel alive, and we're sort of having this beautiful engagement right now, and you know, and that what I particularly mentioned to her was the picture of the angel at the very beginning of the day, and she said, "Oh, so you mean that gratitude can be simply being present to what is?" And I said, exactly. Because so many people do gratitude practices where they're thinking, well, I have lots of money, and I have a house, and I have lots of things, and I'm comfortable, and I have more money than those people who live down the street or in a tent. You know, it's like there's sort of comparison and all the things that I have. And, you know, one could certainly think about that, and that could be uplifting, but if you could just develop a presence of here, right now, and tell the truth, so to speak, about being here, you'd be surprised at how much there is to be grateful for. That would be considered as a gratitude practice. And you could do that anywhere if you wanted to shift your mood out of whatever doldrums you happen to be in. So, let's do a gratitude meditation. We begin by placing our hands. You can put your right hand and then your left hand over your right hand. Cover the microphone. Like this. And then we will take in 5 deep breaths. And as you inhale, inhale as deeply as you can. And at the top, hold for about 11 seconds. And then release slowly. And we'll do this 5 times together, breathing in the light into our heart. And release the hands. And just feel the presence of our heart. And when the heart awakens, there's just so much sweetness, so much love, so much care and kindness and compassion flowing through it. And then just consider a talent or a gift that you have been given in this life. Some quality perhaps that you have, or some skill, something that you consider as a great gift, that somehow the divine or God has bestowed upon you. In your mind, just think about an acknowledgement that you would like to give to that divine intelligence or power, God, whatever you want to call it, higher power, a sort of statement of thankfulness. Like, thank you, God, for this gift that I've been given. I'm so grateful. My life has been blessed. I am a fortunate person. I appreciate this quality in me. It has enriched my life. consider myself as a gift to the world. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You consider how often do we actually thank ourselves, appreciate ourselves. We could be so busy all day long and forget how precious we are as a soul. I mean, it's brave enough even to come into this world. You're a brave soul. The fact that you decided to incarnate down onto such a challenging planet and civilization, you could thank yourself for having that kind of courage. Anyone who's chosen to come down here, it's not so easy. Let alone navigating. And there's, as a baby, we don't get any kind of like instruction book on life saying, okay, this is how you do it.
Yeah, we do. The Bhagavad Gita.
Imagine the little baby reading the Bhagavad Gita. I've got like the little tiny one. You've seen mine, right? It's a little tiny one for a baby. The baby's like, ooh, Krishna, Arjuna, interesting. And you read the Bhagavad Gita to your baby every night. That might not be such a bad idea. You're super fortunate if you're born into a spiritual family. Now that is extraordinary. Like Arjuna, Josh's son, Arjuna, born into a spiritual family where Josh went out of his way to bring up his child, giving him so many different spiritual opportunities. I mean, it's kind of unbelievable. That is what I would call a blessed birth. I mean, I didn't get interested in spirituality until 2006. And I guess I could have said, gosh, why didn't I know about it earlier? In fact, I was an atheist. Totally against God. I felt people were brainwashed if they were kind of following spiritual or religious traditions. Real strong feeling about that. And I didn't want myself to be brainwashed or influenced by people. Yet somehow, I changed radically.
Now you want your brainwash.
Now I want my brainwash. It's almost like I was hit by lightning. So one thing one could say is to be grateful that you've been struck by lightning. If you're here in a song, even listening to this, I would say you're it's kind of a tremendous thing, actually. It's an unusual thing. Because a lot of the things I might say would be considered as blasphemous in the first place. They'd turn it off immediately. What I wanted to do, and I've explained this to Josh and to others as well, I wanted to be able to bridge the gap between the Christian tradition, the Christian faith, and the mystical tradition, the mystical Christ. People wonder why I talk about Christ so much. It's about shifting the perspective. It's like Christ actually came down to earth to show that you're Christ, ironically. Instead of everyone saying, putting up a statue of him on a cross, saying, okay, instead of looking outside of yourself, look within and find your Christ. And it's interesting because the symbolism of that, he was crucified and then resurrected, which means the same thing each person must go through. No exception. Your ego, in a sense, must be crucified. And then you, as the soul, or your divine self, gets resurrected. So technically, Christ's true enlightenment, where he realized the nature of all existence and he became that supreme self, was at the point of his crucifixion and resurrection. When he was resurrected, indeed, he had fully, let's say, embodied the supreme state of consciousness. So you get resurrected into your true self. It's like the Christian that says, I'm born again. Born again means, I remember one of the stories in the Bible where one of the rich Jewish men, he was listening to Christ in the evening, and Christ was saying to him, well, you have to be born again. And he's like, well, what do you mean? Do I go back into my mother's womb? He thought that. And Christ said, no, this is a spiritual birth where you as the person die, and then you are resurrected into eternal life. So each time you're particularly in these kinds of gatherings, you attend them, and bit by bit you are dying. And one may say, well, why would you feel grateful for that? Why would I want to die? I want to preserve myself. And obviously that is what the ego wants to do. Our mind wants to preserve itself. It will do anything to stay alive, because that is what the mind is. It's like rolling. What's that song? Rolling on a river. You're rolling, and it keeps rolling, and it's got this momentum. It doesn't want to stop. The mind is excited to keep rolling. So then somehow it takes this sort of tremendous effort to stop the ball, so to speak, from rolling and go, okay, now be still and know that I am God. So when you have gratitude, you're in the present. And interesting, when you're in the present, this is your gift. That's why they call it the present. It's your gift. You are here now, and it is a divine gift where your mind becomes soft and still. And then you can experience your current reality as so beautiful and magical, amazing and mystical, because you're stunned. It's not that the mind is commenting and saying all these things. It just is. Mind is the commentator. It's like this little, I was going to say mouse, I guess. Mouse doesn't really talk. It's this little guy in your mind that's talking and talking and talking, making a commentary about everything. And the moment that it makes a comment about it, then the magic and the mystery is lost. In a sense, it gets kind of tainted because now I'm labeling it or I'm judging it. And that gets tiresome after a while. And trust me, people will realize that. After a while, it's like, okay, I'm bored. What next? Because you notice that we get bored real easily. Okay, what's the next thing? Okay, what's the next thing? That's how TV shows and commercials are made. They have to get to the next thing. And so, and of course, the networks know that. You know, how do we keep the person's attention engaged in the video? First of all, you have to make if you're going to make a YouTube video, you better make it like 3 minutes or less. Because after 3 minutes, you know, we can't keep the attention. The yogi who is present can be stunned by just gazing at a flower for hours and meditate and literally merge with the flower. We've done that flower meditation before, where you and the flower become one and you can feel yourself as the flower. That's how you know the nature of things, or some may say the signature of things. It's not just you see it and you observe it with your mind, but you meditate upon it until your consciousness merges with that thing, and then there's no difference between you and the flower. Now that is presence. That is power. I and the flower are one. And you could be in that state again for hours and be just intoxicated by the perfume, the fragrance of that flower. Then you can become a shaman, you know. The shaman knows the nature of the plant, the flower, and will learn. The flower will be able to give all the essence to you. It'll give you all the knowledge of what you can do with the leaves of the flower, what you can do with the petals of the flower, what you can do with the roots of the flower, how to take care of the flower. You can use all these things for different medicines and different all kinds of sort of healing properties that come out of the flower. It is also said that any sickness that you get, you can find a natural cause or natural cure from nature. Everything that we could possibly get, including viruses. There's some natural plant or flower or some sort of mineral that if you knew how to mix or catalyze just right, and if you had the because a lot of times if you really want the element of, let's say, that flower to have the most impact, you also have to have the awareness of that flower as well. In other words, you have to know the flower. Then when you hold it, it becomes blessed and charged. And then let's say you put it into tea or whatever and you consume it. Now it has an energetic power that is far beyond the normal flower, because you are able to bring out the divine essence from it. Isn't that amazing? That's what a sannyasin does. You know, in India, some of them are experts at this, where you come to the local sadhu, the local monk, and somehow he's gained knowledge of a particular plant because he's merged with it. He knows the elements. And just by him handling the plant and then giving you the medicine, you've got the energetics, all the magic. I'm talking about not just the physical properties, but the energetics that he has programmed in the medicine that you take. And then when you take it, somehow it cures your ailment, just like that. It's like magic. Witches are known for doing this, like the true witches. Gratitude leads to love. It opens the heart to all of creation, to all people and all of creation, to the point that at some time your heart will embrace all of creation. You will be one with that creative principle. One may call it the Divine Mother. And we can sing the very simple mantra. You can call it mantra medicine to activate your love. The word prema, prema, love. The mantra premam bo, which means hooray for love. It's good enough for me. Just imagine that pink lotus flower, so beautiful, so elegant, floating in water in the center of your heart. In the light of prema, that light of love streams into your heart and strikes the lotus flower. And that flower opens to receive the light, to receive the love. And that pink flower glows brighter and brighter as the light streams in. And the flower blooms. Light flowing into the center of your heart and into that flower that now has become so full of radiance that its glow spreads through your chest, up into your head, down through your arms, hands. The light spreads through your torso, into your legs and your feet. The whole body just filled with this light. Consumed with this light. As it expands into your aura and fills your aura, surrounds your body. Just let go of the vision and feel the presence. And let all of your attention and consciousness dive into that presence. Merge. Let go. surrender. And so you don't have to go anywhere to find gratitude or be grateful. You don't have to do anything. You just sit and be here. And the magic will unfold inside you naturally. And there is a whole universe inside you to explore. You don't need the outside universe to entertain you.
That's what Swami Satchidananda used to say. I don't need to go to an art museum. I have an art museum inside my mind.
You know, some yogis can simply visualize an apple inside them, and then they can actually taste the apple that they're visualizing, and not only that, receive all the nutrients from the apple in their system without actually having an apple. Can you imagine? Self-sufficient. We're running around trying to make money to survive so we can buy food. And the yogi sits down and visualizes an apple, and then he feels full. I'll tell you even a more grand story than that. The story of Draupadi. Draupadi was the wife of the 5 Pandavas in the Mahabharata, the story of Krishna. And she's considered as like the heroine of that story. She's like one wife, and then there's 5 husbands, and that in itself is highly unusual. You have to be a pretty strong wife. She was, man. She was devoted to Krishna. She loved Krishna. And she realized at some point that the only being, the only, you could say, person that would be able to truly be there for her was Krishna, who represents God. So one time, Draupadi was in this, this small home with her 5 husbands, and there was a sage that was coming along to visit them, and he had like 10,000 followers. And according to that tradition, you have to feed the sage and all of the disciples. That's like the protocol. It's kind of like the politeness. And if you don't, then it's considered like an insult to the sage. And so this kind of was sprung on Draupadi, and the woman being in charge, she at least being in charge of making the meal. And unfortunately, she wasn't prepared, and there was no food in the cupboards. So she thought, well, oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm in big trouble because the sage, I have nothing to give him and his 10,000 disciples. And then, so she decides that she's going to pray to Krishna. Now, mind you, Krishna is an enlightened being. He is sort of representing the all, the supreme consciousness. So the moment she begins to pray for his help, what happens? Krishna, by the way, is far, far away. He appears. There he is, in front of her. And he says to her, so I'm here, what do you need? Nonchalantly, as if it was no big deal. And she said, well, I'm in trouble here because I need to feed this great sage that's coming along with his 10,000 disciples. And look here in my cabinets, I have no food. And he says, are you sure about that? Are you positive? She said, certain. He said, go check in the cauldron for any food. And if I can solve your problem, but I would like myself to have some food first. She's like, okay. So she goes over the cauldron and she's searching, kind of hopelessly, thinking Krishna is crazy. And she ends up finding the tiniest piece of green, like salad, tiniest piece, and 1 grain of rice. That's it. And he's like, yeah, that's it. And she looks at this paltry serving. And Krishna says, well, I'll take it. That's my meal. And she was, of course, quite embarrassed because, when an enlightened being comes, you want to treat them well. You want to give them something. She says, okay. And she gives these 2 tiny bits to Krishna. Krishna takes it, bites it, eats it, swallows it, and says, that was the most wonderful meal I have ever had. And you know the reason. Because Draupadi was so devoted to Krishna, trusted him so much with her life and with her soul, that he was, in a sense, her divine friend, that he appreciated this as a sort of offering of devotion from her own heart. In the moment that he swallowed the food, every single human on earth was filled to the brim and completely full and no longer hungry. And so when the sage arrived, he said, hi, gosh, I'm coming to visit you, and I was gonna ask you for some food. In fact, I had asked you to prepare some food, but now I seem to be completely full and satisfied. So I'm sorry to bother you. Namaste. And then he left. And all her husbands who were there too were also full. And he said, wow, I'm surprised we're all full. And of course only Draupadi and Krishna knew the reason. And indeed, that is the power of one's faith in the divine. If you have complete faith that, in a sense, God or the universe will take care of you, then you will be surprised at how this whole manifestation will start to give you things that you need in order to take care of you. And you won't even need to ask, because you're so surrendered to that power. That power now bows to you and says, I'm at your service. And the funny thing is once you've surrendered to that power, you really don't have any more desires, because your only desire is to serve that. That is your greatest joy. I just want to serve the will of the Supreme God. That's the only thing I wish to do in my life. That's it. At the end of the story of the Ramayana, the story of Ram, there's Hanuman, the monkey, call him the monkey god. After Ram won the battle against all the demons, they came back to Ayodhya, which is the kingdom, and Ram was going to rule, and he became ruler. Well, Ram was doling out sort of all the rewards to all the people that helped him to conquer the demon Ravan. And then he came to this Hanuman, this monkey, and said, Hanuman, I'll give you anything you want. Just name your boon. And Hanuman said, I don't need anything. And then at some point, someone, like I think it was Sita, which is the consort of Ram, gave Hanuman this fancy jewel, and Hanuman took the jewel and he bit it, and it sort of shattered into pieces. And some of the people near him said, "What are you doing, monkey? You're crazy." And Hanuman said, "This has no value to me. Nowhere on this bauble is the name of my Ram, and Ram represents the divine to him, the supreme being. Nowhere on this says the name Ram, so it's useless to me." And then people were kind of like doubting his devotion, his loyalty to that divine cause represented by Ram. And then so Hanuman again took his sharp fingernail and he rips his chest down the center and opens it up, and there's blood, right? And then on every single bone, rib, and every single bone in his body was written the word Ram. And after that, no one had doubt in Hanuman's devotion to that supreme force, which is ruling, which is behind everything and is everything. When you surrender to that guiding light, then your life will shine like a star, and everything in your life will be so beautiful. You won't believe how wonderful your life will be. Even with all the hardships and the difficulties that may befall you, it is all so sweet and astonishing and wondrous. And then one lives a life of gratitude. And so this last mantra that we have the opportunity to sing together is Hari Om. And Hari is another name for the divine principle that pervades all of existence. It's here right now, in the computer, in the chair, in all the cells of the body, in your mind, in all your mind waves. It is there. It is everything. And when you chant Hari Om, you are tuning into that. You're beginning to see that. You're beginning to feel it and understand the true nature of things, the true nature of this life, what it's actually about. You're beginning to understand the mystery of life. All the answers to all your questions that you will ever have are born out of this mantra. truly home. Return to your source. Go back to where you came from. You are pure consciousness. You are love. You are peace. Sudosi Buddhasi Niranjanosi Sansar Maya Parivarjatosi Samsara Sapna Tajamohanidram Sudosi Budosi Niranjanosi. Wake up, my child. Wake up out of this illusion. You're pure consciousness. You're full of light. You're free. Realize your true self. Break out of this dream. The final mantras are in honor of the Satguru. The Guru is the one who leads the disciple from darkness to light. He is the one that says to you, "Hold my hand, and I will take you across the ocean of your own mind to the other side, where you will be so happy, so free, and you will never suffer again." Lead us from untruth to truth. Lead us from darkness to light. And lead us from death to immortality. Guru And so we place our hands in prayer position in front of our heart. And we'll chant together the mantra Om Shanti Shanti Shanti, sending peace to all beings in this world. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace. Peace. Peace be unto all. Thank you so much for coming tonight to satsang and joining in communion. May the energy go with you and bless your life. Namaste.